The newest saga from legendary filmmaker George Lucas is a departure from his classic film franchise. Lucas broke ground on a new museum yesterday in Los Angeles with his wife, CBS News financial contributor Melody Hobson. It's the future home of the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art. The couple contributed $1 billion to build the futuristic-looking building. When the museum is finished in 3 years, it will house much of their art collection of around 10,000 pieces. John Blackstone spoke with them at their Skywalker Ranch outside of San Francisco about the project's 10-year journey.
A long time ago on planet Earth, a movie called Star Wars inspired generations and made George Lucas one of the most successful filmmakers ever.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
I created it. I lived with it for 40 years.
Good luck.
In 2012, Lucas sold the rights to Star Wars to Disney for more than $4 billion.
There is a point, because I was, the same thing with my kids. There's a point where they get old enough and you say, you have to go out on your own. You cannot live at home anymore, which is basically what was going on.
With Star Wars gone, he's been pursuing another passion, the Lucas Museum of Narrative Art.
You can tell we are very happy to be here.
At a groundbreaking in Los Angeles, Lucas and his wife Melody Hobson launched the $1 billion project. When it opens in 3 years, the streamlined building will seem to hover over a park. It may resemble a Star Wars spaceship, but don't let that fool you.
Everybody calls it a Star Wars museum, but it's not a Star Wars museum, because people aren't going to come to a Star Wars museum. They can go to Madame Tussauds for that.
Movies, including the Star Wars series, will be featured in exhibits showing what it takes to make a film, from set designs to character and costume sketches. There will be film storyboards and comic art. But the museum will also display paintings by Renoir, N.C. Wyeth, Winslow Homer, Maxfield Parrish, Norman Rockwell, all from Lucas's private collection.
I think more people will come in for Rockwell than will come in for Star Wars. Norman Rockwell can tell a whole story in one picture.
When were you captivated by Rockwell?
When I was 8 years old. I wanted to be an illustrator. I wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to be able to do pictures that have a message that appeals to a lot of people.
Art that tells a story inspired him to tell stories. That narrative art is what Lucas will share in his museum.
It is telling the story of the society, the history of the wars, the history of the heroes, the history of the kings, because narrative art is always about the mythology of the society.
While Lucas is a storyteller, Hobson is a businesswoman and CBS News financial contributor.
Did you say at some time, George, $1 billion is a lot of money. What's the return on investment in this?
Well, I knew the return on investment was not about profit for us. The return on investment was for society. The money that we have, it is for others. It is not for us to have more.
A gift you had a hard time giving away.
Who knew it'd be hard to give away a museum?
It's a saga that began a decade ago when Lucas first proposed building his museum in San Francisco near the Golden Gate Bridge, but local opponents shut it down.
But then Melody says, well, do it in my city, do it in my city, we'll get it done.
Her city is Chicago, but a lawsuit filed by activists stopped it. Chicago Star Wars fans protested as only they could.
This all stinks like Jar Jar Binks! This all stinks like Jar Jar Binks!
After Chicago did not work out, I did go to George, and I said, George, come on, let's just do something else. Let's give up on this one. And he literally looked at me and he says, I want my museum. I want this. And I said, okay, onward.
Onward to Los Angeles.
And on behalf of this city of angels, I want to thank you two angels for coming here.
What were your instructions to the architect?
Iconic is what we said. We want an iconic building. We want to do something that has never been done before, that has never been seen before.
I want you to have a bigger view of the world. I want you to be able to imagine things that don't exist.
It's a talent that launched his career and built his empire, and inspired an entire generation of storytellers along the way. For CBS This Morning, John Blackstone, Skywalker Ranch, California.
I want to go.
I do too. They are the ultimate power couple, using their celebrity and all that comes with it as a force for good. And I know that they're both so excited about what's to come in that
Imagine
museum.
walking into a building and imagining something you hadn't imagined before. That is powerful.
No, I love Melody saying, onward, okay? We're going to get this done.